We ready? Good evening and welcome to the August 15th, 2024 Northampton County Council agenda. Mr. Warren, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could we please have a moment of silence? Thank you. Ms. Shavniski, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Corpora?
Here.
Mr. Giovanni?
Here.
Mr. Goffredo?
Here.
Mr. Heckman?
Here.
Ms. Keegan?
Here.
Mr. Kraft? Ms. Vargo-Hefner?
Here.
Mr. Warren?
Here.
All present, Mr. Heckman by phone.
Thank you. Can I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes of August 1st, 2024?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition or amendments? Thank you. Any courtesy of the floor? There's no courtesy of the floor listed. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to courtesy of the floor this evening? Thank you. Mr. McClure, do you have a report for us?
Mercifully, I'll be brief. We received, I don't know if you had an opportunity to see it, Ms. Vargo-Hefner, you received it as President of the County Council, the budget request from the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission. It's so fun, I can't even stop. They've asked for an 81% increase, or a $1.15 million contribution for 2025. So I don't want to step on the headline. We're about 2/3 away from the budget being prepared to present it to you sometime late in September, early October. But I will not be proposing to you that we contribute $1.15 million to the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, although we will increase it as is appropriate, probably something akin to what the CPI demonstrates. It should go up. I would say that as a practical matter, and it's not funny, they have about $4 million in reserve, which is approximately 9 to 12 months of their operating expenses. Generally accepted governmental accounting standards call for 2 months to be in reserve. So I can't see suggesting to County Council through the budget that we'll propose that we should give them a large increase. That's all I have.
I was going to ask you if we could sit down and we could talk about that.
Yeah,
I got the same thing, but I didn't have time to. So you and I can sit down and talk?
We could talk, absolutely, we could talk about that.
Because I noticed, well, there was a word optional there, so.
Optional.
I read optional as that we have the option to say yes or no.
Well, so,
we can
so
discuss that.
yeah, so the administration proposes and then council disposes. Council could theoretically give them $1.15 million for next year.
I just wanted to.
And
look at
then
it with-
find 6 votes to overcome the line item veto of it.
So we'll
Yep.
talk.
Oh, absolutely.
So we'll talk.
Absolutely, but you know where I'm coming from.
I do, but I just still wanted to have the conversation, because, you know, you get an email like that with a lot of money, and it says, oh, this is,
Yeah, it's a lot.
This is
It's an
optional, so-
81% increase.
to be continued.
Well, so they're, good news, they're going to use about 800,000 of that 4 million that they've squirreled away to pay for that office that they never should have moved to, in my view. But there'll still be way too much money squirreled away. All right, that's all I have. Anything else?
Anybody else have a question or request that might be met better? Thank you.
I'm sorry, it's funny.
Well, no, why don't we announce together what happened at CCAP? You could report that.
Well,
That we were able.
Well, so Discover, the reason I went, I normally don't go to CCAP. You know, historically, I haven't found a tremendous amount of value in doing so, but Discover Lehigh Valley, who, as you know, we fund to do our tourism and in the valley, along with Lehigh County. They asked me to go and lead our delegation in a pitch to bring the 2029 CCAP conference to Wind Creek in Bethlehem. And so we did that, and Ms. Vargo Hefner and County Executive Armstrong and Mr. Giovanni and Mr. Brown was there, rooting us on. We made our presentation, and we had some stiff competition, and Wind Creek won the 2029 CCAP convention. So we were very pleased to do that.
And it was an impressive difference between us and the next.
It wasn't even close, right?
But I appreciate you being there, and I'm very glad that we did that because, you know, there were a lot of repeats and the same people get it, and it had been moved, or we were in line for it, I think, years ago, and because of COVID, we got pushed out of the queue. So I'm very glad that it'll bring some dollars to the.
Well, it's nice. Everybody will have a room in the same place. Everyone will have air conditioning and refrigerators, and these are some of the complaints I heard while we were all there
Oh, yeah.
just together.
No refrigerator.
Yeah, no refrigerator, and some people didn't have air conditioning. It was fun times. And,
Well, we better make sure now that we deliver on that.
well, we will.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Let's see. Any old business? Hearing, seeing none, let's move into new business. We have the introduction of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the Northampton County to Address Public Health in Northampton County Restrooms." I need a sponsor. Kelly Keegan.
A sponsor?
I'd like to co-sponsor if you don't mind.
Okay, I was gonna, sure thing. Can we put two co-sponsors? I'm kidding.
No.
I'm kidding. I'd love to.
Public
be-
hearing, debate, and possible vote will be held at September 5th,
Are you sure,
2024.
Madam President?
I am absolutely 100%
All right, sounds
unequivocally willing to co-sponsor this.
Sounds good.
And consideration of personnel upgrade resolution. Office of the District Attorney, Mr. Giovanni, will you introduce the resolution?
Yes, I will, Mr. President. It is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council that the position of one full-time District Attorney 1, pay grade CE 3-1A, salary $67,828, in the District Attorney's Office shall be upgraded to pay grade CE 3-4D, salary $77,403, effective August 19, 2024.
Mr. DA Judge Barada's here with us this evening, and he was here yesterday.
Retired.
Mr. Steve is here.
Yes.
So we discussed this yesterday. Are there any other questions for him regarding this?
Is there a discussion? or-
Yeah, any discussion, any questions? Yeah,
I have a discussion.
go ahead.
Okay, so despite what the drama blog has to say about me, I do have a mind of my own. And I had some points that I wanted to bring up. Increasing the salary $10,000 would, over 5 years, which typically people want to work 5 years to collect the pension or increase their existing pension, it would be $50,000 more over 5 years. And plus a higher pension, just because of that increase. I get that people like to work towards multiple pensions. I'm not disparaging that, but if that is the case, then I don't, okay. I don't understand why we have to increase the salary. Jobs aren't always about money. I know I took a pay cut when I went from Allentown School District down to Easton. They told me I could start at step 1, and if I didn't like it, I didn't have to work there. But I wanted to work for Easton, so I took the pay cut and I started at step 1, even though I had years of experience as a teacher and a nurse. This has nothing to do with the new hire. I'm sure he's wonderful. I trust your judgment. But I'm just trying to be a good steward of the taxpayers' money. And I just don't see the need to increase this salary. If this person wants to work in Easton or for Northampton, then the salary should be good enough. I don't know why we are increasing salaries to get people to come and work for us. And nobody helped me with that. Those are my own thoughts.
Well, as we talked about yesterday, his salary would actually be below what the starting PDs make when they come in. So I'm asking for a salary that's competitive with what we pay our brand-new hires as a PD, and I don't see any reason why the PDs should be paid more, the starting PDs, than the starting DAs. As a matter of fact, I would argue that I think the work of the DA is absolutely as important, if not more important, with regard to protecting our community, because that's what we're charged with. So I don't think it's an unfair ask, and I think it's proportional to what we pay other lawyers that are hired in their first year.
Mr. Gafredo?
I'll just say, deal with this all the time, having to deal with writing wages with the inflation that we've underdone over the last 5 years. And the fact that we're dealing with lawyers and law degrees, and like you're saying, you're competing against the PD, competing against private firms, and you get what you pay for. You're still within your budget, Mr. Broad, I believe, correct?
Easily.
I don't know why we are not allowing the guy that got elected to run an office not to do the job the way he sees fit. If you think this is going to help, I would love to be in support of it.
Thank you very much.
Any other discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gafredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
yes,
Ms. Keegan?
No.
Mr. Kraft? Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Corpora?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 8 to 1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have consideration of United Steelworker Local 259-30 and Northampton County Graysdale Term Sheet Resolution. Mr. Giovanni, will you introduce?
Yes, I will, Mr. President. Whereas Northampton County Charter Section 202-12 provides that the county council shall have the power to approve any collective bargaining agreement with officers and its employees. And whereas on August 8th, 2024, County Council received a term sheet related to the contract between the Northampton County and the United Steelworkers Local 2599-30 and Northampton County Graysdale. Now therefore be here resolved by the Northampton County Council that the attached term sheet shall be approved this 15th day of August, 2024.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the matter? This was presented and discussed yesterday at Personnel. Call for the vote.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gafredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
yes,
Ms. Keegan?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft? Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Corpora?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9 to 0.
Thank you. Next, we have, where did I go? Consideration of county council staff appointment resolutions. First, we have the consideration of the appointment of clerk to council. Mr. Giovanni, will you introduce?
Yes, I will, Mr. President. It is hereby resolved by Northampton County Council that Eileen Chinesky shall be confirmed in her appointment as clerk to council at a pay grade group 6, step 1A, $107,482, effective August 19, 2024.
Is there any discussion regarding this matter? Call for the vote.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
yes,
Ms. Keegan? Yes. Mr. Kraft? Yes. Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Corpora?
Yes.
And Mr. Gafredo?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9 to 0.
Thank you. Congratulations and condolences at the same time. Is here, next, we have the consideration of the appointment of the deputy clerk. Mr. Giovanni, will you introduce?
Yes, President, I will. It is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council that Janeska Negron shall be confirmed in her appointment as deputy clerk to council in the office of the county council, pay grade CE, 14-1A, salary $81,541, effective August 19, 2024.
Any discussion on this matter? Call for the vote.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Kraft. Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Yes.
Mr. Warren,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Corpora,
Yes.
Mr. Gafredo,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman,
Yes.
Ms. Keegan,
Yes.
adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Same to you.
Yeah.
Next, we have consideration of the Administrative Code, Article 13, Contract Resolutions, CMR Construction, Inc. Mr. Brown, will you introduce the resolution?
Whereas Northampton County Administrative Code, Article 13, Procurement, Disposition of County Property, Section 13.15, Contracts and Agreements, C.2, requires approval of county council for any contract where costs are to be funded with monies outside of the county's general fund, such as those funded through bonded indebtedness. Whereas on August 5th, 2024, Northampton County Council received a request from the county executive for county council to adopt a resolution approving a contract in the amount of $129,900 for a term of 4 years with CMR Construction, Inc. for meadow restoration in Northampton County parks. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Northampton County Council does hereby concur with the recommendation of the county executive as set forth in the attached documentation to approve a contract with CMR Construction, Inc.
Thank you. Is there any discussion regarding this? Was this discussed at the meeting prior? Or was this discussed at your meeting? No, we didn't, that's right, we didn't go over it. Any discussion on the matter?
Yeah. Can we get, I don't know who's in charge of Mr. Millie?
Good evening, Council. So this contract would be to convert roughly 18 acres of existing turf at 6 county parks and properties to a wildflower meadow area to not only create a pollinator areas for native pollinators. It would assist with the stormwater management on our properties, as well as add some visual interest as well. And so this is a 4-year contract, which the contractor would be responsible for mowing down these areas initially, applying an herbicide to kill off any weeds that are growing there. They're going to be planting the wildflower seed mixture with a no-till seed driller. And then they're also going to be responsible for the maintenance of these wildflower areas for the first several years as well.
Nothing we wanted to do with our Parks Department, I'm assuming? Too much for them?
It's a little bit too much, too extensive.
That's all. I just wanted to get a general scope of exactly what they were doing. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Warren,
Yes.
Mr. Corpora,
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Gafredo,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman,
Yes.
Ms. Keegan,
Yes.
Mr. Kraft. Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have Computing Technologies LLC. Mr. Brown, would you introduce?
Whereas Northampton County Administrative Code, Article 13, Procurement, Disposition of County Property, Section 13.15, Contracts and Agreements, requires approval of county council for any contract exceeding $100,000, which was awarded using a competitive negotiation after competitive sealed bidding, and non-competitive negotiation source selection methods. For contracts with renewal clauses, the entire potential payout, if all renewal clauses are exercised under the terms of the contract, must be considered when determining if council approval is necessary. Whereas on July 29, 2024, Northampton County Council received a request from the county executive for county council to adopt a resolution approving a contract in the amount of $1,393,154.70 with Computing Technologies LLC for a regional 911 computer-aided dispatch hardware refresh. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Northampton County Council does hereby concur with the recommendation of the county executive as set forth in the attached documentation to approve a contract with Computing Technologies LLC.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions? Go ahead.
I'm the 911 liaison, so I figured I'd have to come with some information. And Mr. Weaver's here too. But this is a semi-recurring event you guys do every 5 years or so, or how often do you guys have to do this?
Yeah, this equipment was installed in mid-2018, and this is the backroom hardware refresh, both for Lehigh and Northampton County, because we share our CAD systems. So this is the servers, the network switch, what makes everything work. Roughly, I kind of did the numbers, it was pretty much processed over 2 million calls since the inception of this. And this is also funded by the state 15% interconnectivity fund because it's a shared project.
Essentially scheduled maintenance, you guys have to do it.
It's a refresh of the hardware, so for cybersecurity and keeping things up to date, it's time to replace it.
Thank you.
The only question I have is, it's a sole source because these are the same people that we've used in the past and we're just continuing the contract?
It's
or-
the same installers that we had to put it in. They also maintain our network, but we submit our projects to the state, so their prices is out there, but it's also based off a state contract.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion or questions? Call for the vote.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Corpora?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gafredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan? Yes. Mr. Kraft? Yes. Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you.
Let's see. T&T Lanco Incorporated, the administration is asked to withdraw this agenda item, so we will. I'm not sure why. It was just asked to do so. Is there any other new business to discuss? Mr.
Madam
Warren?
President, thank you. At our last meeting 2 weeks ago, and Mr. Spadoni, you may have to refresh my memory here with this, I asked that the resolution for Lehigh Valley 250 to provide the $100,000 to them be put on the agenda for this particular meeting, and it wasn't for some reason. And Madam President, too, if you would like to speak to this as well, I'm like wondering why it wasn't put on the agenda when I had requested that it would be put on, simply so that we could vote on this, because I think it's important from a tourism standpoint, especially when it comes to the 250th anniversary of our nation here. I had a conversation with Jessica Edris of Lehigh Valley 250 about this and how we should move forward. It's my understanding there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes too, but she made an overall point. I think it's important that we realize we need to keep local money local when it comes to tourism. And it was my hope to be able to provide them with that. It's one of the reasons I wanted to introduce that resolution. Our members, I don't know why it was, one, not put on when I had requested it, and did somebody take it off just because they felt like it at this point? I'm genuinely wondering. I know we didn't have a finance committee yesterday. I'm not sure why we didn't have a finance committee meeting yesterday. I know that Mr. Heckman a couple weeks ago asked me to chair the finance committee 2 weeks ago, which I readily did. It seems, I don't know what's going on. I know Mr. Barron is here because he's a representative, I believe, of PA 250, correct, Mr. Barron? And I'd like to see this get done so Northampton County can contribute to the tourism and celebratory initiatives of our 250th anniversary of our nation. I'm not sure what's going on here, but I'm hoping to get some answers at this point.
So you've asked several questions. Which one would you like answered?
Just why wasn't it allowed to be on the agenda?
When you brought it up 2 weeks ago, I stated that I had questions for the administration.
Okay.
And that when I got to have that conversation and get those questions answered, then I would put it on the agenda and not before.
Okay.
I am also a member of America 250, and there is a backstory. Mr. Barron and I had a preliminary discussion yesterday, and I expressed my concern. We have a county committee This is an unsanctioned group. They're doing a lot of good work, but unless the county committee meets and has a weigh-in, and there were several people that were commissioned, and there was a resolution, and those people have not had a chance to weigh in and say what they think about this. And
Okay.
so I would like them to have an opportunity before we go giving $100,000 to a group who's not part of the actual America 250. And I understand, the Norco America 250 Commission will be spending money in this county and is expected to raise money to do events for this county. And if they all agree as a group that they want LV 250 to be the purveyors of that, then they should have first pass and they should be able to meet. They have not met since last October. So I think, in fairness to the people that were asked and tasked to do this, that they should have a weigh-in on this. And then I'm happy to present it to council. So we discussed that yesterday, and hopefully it will be resolved.
All due respect, why does it take 2 weeks to be able to ask questions, to get answers to any questions that may need to be answered by you? And further, it was supposed to be on the Finance Committee agenda yesterday. I get an email saying that due to unforeseen circumstances, it's being canceled when there were agenda items on there for us to go over. And any number of us on the Finance Committee could have chaired that meeting yesterday. It just seems that it's being delayed for whatever reason. I don't know.
Well, I
but
just
think-
explained to you why.
Right.
And so I don't understand why you don't understand what I just said, but that, Lehigh Valley 250 alone, that is my answer. And as part of that committee, I don't think it's fair that we're giving money to a group that already existed when there's 9 other people commissioned that get to weigh in, and not just Mr. Barron. Now, some of the people are crossover people, and they have a vested interest in receiving that money, but I think there's other people that should have the opportunity to discuss that.
Well-
So that's all I'm going to say about LV 250.
Okay.
As far as the Finance Committee, I'm not going to discuss that on the dais. I'm not.
Okay.
That somebody was not able to be present, things have transpired, it's not going to happen again. But out of respect for people's health and well-being, it was canceled.
I understand, but I guess where I'm coming from with this is I'm one of 9 individuals up here, and I simply asked for it, and again, I readily admit that I don't have the knowledge that you have, Madam President, with regard to this. I readily acknowledge that. But even bringing it up, having a discussion, we are able to sift through those things. And if we have to table something, then we would table something.
But
I'm one of
also-
9 individuals here, Madam President, and I asked for it to be brought up, and it was arbitrarily pushed off to the side.
It was not arbitrary.
That's how
I
it
made
seems to
really-
me after I requested it.
I'm sorry that you feel that way. And I made it really clear in public at the last meeting that I needed to have that conversation. And I want to respect the process that was supposedly started in good faith with that other group. I think that's fair. Now, if there's another $100,000 to give to that group, then I guess we'll be discussing that as a group. But when we haven't had a meeting since last October, then I think that's a problem to just say we're going to go give money to somebody else. And we might just do it, but I think that group should be given the
Is there-
right to weigh in. And
Is
so,
there
like
a
I
way-
said, why did it take 2 weeks to have a conversation? I wasn't here, I didn't get a chance, and I got a chance yesterday.
Okay.
But, and
mind if I ask
again,
Mr.
I
Barron?
don't think that it's, like, we're not talking about a part of the jail that's breaking, that it's dire, that it has to happen. Like, it's gonna happen. Just because it didn't happen today and on your preferred timeline, doesn't mean it's not going to. But I wanted to make sure that this other group gets to meet.
It's not just my preferred timeline, Madam President. I've spoken with individuals about the importance of this funding, and when other folks are telling me that something is important, I've analyzed it, and I've thought about what it means in the future, then I simply wanted to bring it up. Mr. Barron, do you mind if I ask Mr. Barron a couple questions?
I would
About, like,
prefer not. I mean,
how we
I
can
think
work
that we
together?
have a disagreement about this. And
Okay.
I have to tell you that I had a very extensive meeting with Jessica Enders myself.
Okay.
So she knows where I'm coming from. This is not like done behind it. Mr. Goffredo was present with me at that meeting. So, like, no one's trying to mess with this group. He and I spoke yesterday. He and I are going to try to work to resolve it. He's the chair of the Norco Commission. He's got to call the meeting. I've asked him to call the meeting. You want to talk to him off the record, you can, I don't think it needs to be aired here, because then I'm going to be bringing all kind of other people to the table, and that's not fair, when they have not been able to meet for a year, almost a year.
I just ask that if I do, or Mr. Goffredo does, or Mr. Giovanni, or Ms. Keegan asks for a measure to be brought up to the agenda, that it be brought up to the agenda and we can discuss it. And if something has to be tabled, if something has to be put aside at the moment because there are other wheels in the cog going on, then we can do it. I'm just saying, as a matter of being one of 9 up here, that we can respect those requests in the future. So, thank you.
Any other discussion? Any other old business, new business? Council committee reports? Oh, wait. Yes, wait. You have in front of you, well, do you want to do that as your part of your report? Sure. Yeah, you could do it. Go ahead, Kelly, sorry.
So we had an Energy, Environment, and Land Use Committee meeting today. County Executive McClure reviewed initiatives and projects that are going on in the county to combat climate change. Some of those were preserving green spaces, solar, and things going on in parks and trails. Megan McBride gave a presentation from the Nature Nurture Center regarding regenerative, oh my God, I can't say it, regenerative. It's like you with your, the other thing, agriculture.
Electronic vehicles, yeah.
That was really good. That was a really good presentation. I think people should go back and watch that. And then we had a discussion on electric vehicle comprehensive plan.
We did. Ms. Keegan, if you don't mind, really quick. There was something that was said during that presentation, or discussion, I should say, with the electric vehicles. Mr. Goffredo, you had mentioned that, it's slave labor that specifically is creating the batteries in electric vehicles.
Mining the cobalt.
Mining cobalt, exactly.
Yep.
The Democratic Republic of Congo is the majority, they create the majority, over 75% of that cobalt. I did a lot, based on our conversations, I know you don't necessarily like to read news articles at times, but based on what you told me
I read a
earlier.
book on it. It was pretty all-encompassing, so
Okay.
I would check out that news article pretty deep before you go saying it.
All right, well, I mean, it's estimated that between the 140,000 and 200,000 people that work within the cobalt mining industry within the Democratic Republic of Congo, most earners, they make less, unfortunately, than $10 per day there. But the fact of the matter is they are paid. They are paid. It stinks. It's not slavery that's happening, and I just wanted to
There's kids there that don't get paid. You should look into it. It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
Just
Do you have
wanted
any
to
further
just wanted to
reports?
throw those stats out there for you.
No, that's it for the committee.
Thank you.
report.
Any other committee reports? Yes, sir.
We had a Personnel Committee meeting yesterday and talked about the DA District Attorney being in, our staff approval, and then, of course, the union tax amendment for the Slaydale. That was it, for Graysdale.
Thank you. Mr. McClure
Mea culpa.
has a
mea
memory
maxima culpa.
recall.
I do. I had a meeting of the World Heritage Council today where we were discussing the plans to have all the world, the folks from Denmark and Germany and Northern Ireland here in October. And I made the pitch to have the dinner moved from October 17th because, of course, we'll be invited, county council is invited, I'm invited, and that's a council night. So I made the pitch, I was initially rebuffed. I would hope they would reconsider moving it to maybe the night before, but apparently it might interfere with church services that are scheduled, and, it is Moravian church settlements, and so the church is very involved.
So they're
Yeah.
having a special
Yeah, there
service.
a number of them actually, and so I did make the pitch, but we may want to consider. It is a huge deal. We may want to consider moving the meeting if we can. And I wanted to give you plenty of time to think about it.
Are we allowed to move the meeting if we?
Yeah. It's unusual, but
Just have to advertise.
October 17th. So I wanted to give you enough time to.
And that's definitely 100%, they're keeping it that day.
Yeah, I made the argument and it didn't fly, yeah. Well, the dinner with the representatives of the governments is going, and there will be high-level officials from Germany, Denmark, the United Kingdom, the United States of America are all going to be there. And of course, this august body, the greatest deliberative body in the world, will also be there. But I don't know about that, but, so anyway, think about it.
Thank you.
Okay.
A lot of people like to schedule things on the third Thursday of the month.
You know, isn't it interesting?
It is. But, thank you. Any other county committee reports? Council liaison reports.
I have one. For farmland preservation, I just wanted to throw some stats out there that were interesting. The county has preserved 19,455.51 acres on 260 farms preserved to date. There's 5 active open easement projects going on for 2024. And 20 active farm easements are currently in the process of preservation, totaling 1,032 acres in 9 townships. And the total investment to date for Northampton County is $86,318,606. So I thought that was interesting.
When is the date that they have to apply by? Like, they're finished for this year, but like for next, when's the beginning to the end point of the application date for other farms or owners that might want to get involved?
I don't know, but I'll find out for you.
Thanks. I always like to tell people about that. Any other liaison reports? Last week was the annual CCAP meeting. The board met as well as several committees, and committee assignments for next year are now being considered. So any of you who are interested in a specific committee can sign up for those, and they'll be decided probably in November, and then you would be on for the following year. So anybody who has an interest area, I would encourage you to do so. I met with the Human Services Committee as well as the Courts and Corrections, and I will say that what Mr. Kraft brought up at our last meeting was a hot topic, but it seemed to be a little bit larger than that. So it wasn't just the idea that the iPads can't be used, but the FCC did a major ruling. That means that we can't charge for any communication, and it's affecting the whole state as well as the country. So they're going to be discussing that and looking at that. And I guess there's questions about the implementation of that and what effects that has in the jails across the state.
It's under appeal because there's a lot of money involved. And the drop dead date is April 1st, April Fool's Day of like 3 years from now, I believe. It has to be all taken care of. So it's a ongoing saga.
No, well, but again, like you said, so I can understand that you can't charge for the communication, but if you break the equipment, then that's a different thing. So I guess there's a lot of areas that aren't charted yet, but Human Services, there was a big discussion on Area Agency on Aging and the state dissemination of money, and the idea that there's a lot of money that they consider the difficulty that money is being put into long-term care homes like we have, but that leaves less money for short-term in-home care, so they were trying to consider how to address that. And they brought up the idea of, do we ever look outside of the same pool of money to get funding for some of these additional projects? And so, we'll see. I mean, there's plenty of corporations and foundations out there that could be tapped too that we never seem to discuss, so I don't think it should be an either-or proposition. The both are needed and necessary. And that's all I had. Tom, you had Technology Committee?
Yeah, Ag Technology, one of their big subjects was cybersecurity, especially with the election coming along. There was some concerns there. Also, the broadband for the state of PA is kind of in a lieu because, just like I would have thought, all the big ISPs got all the money and now nobody's really overseeing what's going on. So they're still working on that, and I believe it's on hold right now for a while. So that's it.
So each committee will now be working on their different proposals and recommendations for next year's priorities. So again, if you're interested, or if you have something to recommend, let us know. Let the committee chair know, because all that stuff's on their website. And that vote will be taken at the convention, or in November, so. And then the last piece of business there was that there was something tabled, but they were trying to move from having a 5-person vote per county to a 3-person vote. Some of the larger counties are in opposition to this, especially the home rule counties, because we don't have just 3 commissioners, we have more. And we have county executives as well. So it was discussed and it was debated, but no action was taken. So again, it's something that may be brought up again in November. And that's all I have. Council Clerk?
On the dais, you should see a preliminary schedule for the budget hearings. Many of you have already indicated to me that you're agreeable to these dates, and I appreciate that. If there are no changes, we will go ahead and notify all of the department heads on Monday.
Solicitor report?
Nothing.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.